We ready?
Another few seconds. We're live on all channels.
All right, so we're ready. We're going to go ahead and call this August 25th, 2020 City of Gallatin Council Committee meeting to order. And at this time, I need to read the executive order, so I will do that. Jeff, are you going to put it up?
Here it comes.
Pursuant to Governor Lee's executive order number 16, number 34, number 51, and the need to limit the community spread of COVID-19, the August 25th, 2020 Gallatin City Council meeting will be held by electronic means. The meeting will be live streamed to protect the public health, safety, and welfare of the council and citizens of Gallatin. You can join the Zoom meeting at the HTTPS, that website, or dial the 1-470-250-9358 or 1-470-381-2552 and enter webinar ID 871-3674-1956. So we're going to call this meeting to order. Can I have a roll call, please? Or do we need to vote? I guess we need to vote on this, don't we? We need a roll call vote.
You need to vote on holding the meeting electronically.
Yes, roll call vote, please.
I need a motion.
Oh, do I hear a motion?
I so move.
Second.
Okay. Got a motion and a second?
Okay.
All those in favor? Roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Camp, Councilman Alexander,
Yes.
Councilman Fan,
Yes.
Councilman Fennell,
Yes.
Councilman Hayes,
Yes.
Councilwoman Love,
Yes.
and Councilman Overton. And he must be absent. So we have a vote of 6-0.
Okay, thank you. All right, at this time, we'll have a roll call for the meeting.
Vice Mayor Camp,
Present.
John D. Councilman Alexander,
Yes.
Councilman Fan,
Here.
Councilman Fennell,
Here.
Councilman Hayes,
Here.
Councilwoman Love,
Here.
and Councilman Alexander is absent.
Here.
So we have Councilman,
Overton.
Councilman Overton.
Overton. Okay.
Yes, and I
Sorry,
certainly
is
saw
Overton.
that Councilman Overton may be joining us later, but he couldn't be here at least for the beginning of the meeting.
Okay, thank you. But we do have a quorum.
All right, thank you. And we do have no minutes tonight, so we will move on to public recognition. So anybody who'd like to speak on anything tonight, now's your time. Please keep your comments to about 5 minutes to let everybody speak. So I'll turn it over to Jeff to see if anybody wants to speak.
Very good. I'll start with the cell phone numbers and read the last 3 digits of those numbers. And I see a lot of people are using the raise your hand function. Those will be the ones, be sure and use that function. We'll recognize you after the cell phone numbers. We'll start with cell phone ending in 085. You have something you'd like to say? Okay, moving on to cell phone ending in 283. You have something you'd like to say? Okay. Cell phone ending in 383. Do you have something you'd like to say? Okay, one more ending in 968. Go ahead.
Jeff, maybe you could instruct them on how to turn on their microphones.
The cell phones, I'm just giving them the opportunity. They're unmuted when I call their name. I see 085 is unmuted. Do you have something you'd like to say? Okay. Moving on to those who've raised their hands. We've got Pascal Javance. Go ahead.
Good evening, all. Pascal, 1335 Longola Park. First, I want to thank the mayor for a comment last week. I was going to comment right after the meeting, but I had to go back and listen it a few times to make sure what I heard was what I was thinking I heard. But I appreciate your comment. And I think the idea of revitalizing the older downtown is great. And your comment that every development is similar to every development is great. That's what some citizen and I have been saying for a few years now. So I'm glad you agree with us. Councilman Overton is not here. I had a question for him directly, so hopefully he'll show up later and somebody can let him know what I said. Somebody told me that Councilman Overton was directly linked to Mr. Jones as a cousin, so I don't really trust what people tell me, and I like to have first-hand knowledge. So when he comes, if he can answer that, that would be great. Because if that's the case, he should be revoked himself from staff who linked to Mr. Jones. On the Douglas Lane, staff, I hope that you all drive on that lane, because I know Craig is bicycle on it and Linda did it. So hopefully the other guys did it to see what's really happening back there. And now the elephant in the room, the noise.
Jeff?
Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't realize you were done.
I'm still here.
Okay, are you finished?
No, I'm not. Can
Please
you hear
continue.
that beep? That the beeping sound of trucks 1,200 feet from our property when they were moving dirt and Kensington down. So it's kind of funny. I read the noise report from the Facebook. Want to get an exemption to be able to work 24/7. And they're talking, about excavator and all that stuff, but there's no mention about trucks. We're going to move dirt 24/7 too, with that really annoying beeping sound. And that beeping sound goes all the way to 112 dBs. Was a lot, and it's really annoying. So I think we should consider these people who live back there, who have kids, who have people working at home now because of COVID, consider their health and welfare before considering a developer, just so he doesn't have to pay more money on his development. There is plenty of studies out there. If you Google, you can find even studies of long-term sleep disorder linked to sound around 55, 65 dBs, who have been published on a lot of medical journal. So 55 dBs, it's what they say the excavator is going to do. And again, studies made now with all the tree lines. And as you know, in 1 month, tree line is going to be open because there's no leaves. And trust me, we know what's happening just here, even us, because as soon as the leaves goes down, I can hear the train passing downtown Gallatin from my property. So I think these citizens were not part of Gallatin now, we're still in the county. We should still be careful and, make sure their welfare is taken care of. Thank you for your time. And Michelle wants to talk now.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I just wanted to get some clarification on something that some of the council said the last time about the Twin Eagles annexation. and the development of the land to the west of the existing Twin Eagles. And I'm just hoping I misunderstood what was said, because it sounded like Councilman Overton and Councilman Alexander were in favor of allowing the developer to continue developing these new areas to the west in sections. And after all this new land is developed with a couple hundred more houses, then they would want to connect everything to Douglas Lane in about 10 years or so. So I think that's what I remember hearing, but I hope I heard it wrong, because if that's what they actually meant, it seems absurd and dangerous to me to continue adding homes to the development and without having another exit. And then after only there's something like 700 or so homes built, then they're going to connect everything to a narrow, windy country road that's not made for this kind of traffic. So in my opinion, it's better to hold off on adding any more homes and to Twin Eagles until a solution can be found for a second appropriate connection to the subdivision. Douglas Lane is not an appropriate road to connect a large city subdivision to, but the citizens of Twin Eagles do need a second connection, especially in the back for safety reasons. So I'd like just to, make sure that that wasn't really what was kind of what was looking like you all wanted to approve that, because that just seems even more dangerous to me. Thank you. That was my comment for this evening.
Thank you. I wanted to make clear what Ms. Love brought up. If you have called by cell phone, you can use *9 to raise your hand to speak, and you can use *6 to toggle mute and unmute. We're going to go through a few more of the computer calls, but we'll give you another opportunity at the end here as well. Christy Allen, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I tried to get on Zoom last week and literally just connected as the public comments were closing. So I'm glad that I was able to get connected tonight. I emailed Councilwoman Love this week with some concerns about Bledsoe Springs. And I appreciate her and Councilman Fennell, Mayor Brown expressing their concerns so strongly about this development last week. And I just wanted to share my concerns as well about added traffic in this area. As you know, this is a very busy intersection with heavy industrial and emergency traffic every day. We now have the added construction traffic for Facebook, which will be coming through there as well. There are frequent accidents at this intersection, which back up more than just Highway 25 and Airport Road. I want to contact Gallatin PD and the Sheriff's Department to just find out, if they can give us the exact number of accidents that have happened through that stretch. But they're extremely frequent. I live off of Berry Lane in the Vineyard subdivision. When traffic backs up on Highway 25, people take Berry Lane as a cut through to Cairo Road and on to Airport Road. Cairo Road backs up from the old EMA building all the way to Airport Road. And if you're driving to the square or to school in the morning, there's absolutely no way around it without going down Sting Plant Road and all the way, clear on the other side of town. And that's happened to me twice in the last year. Once, of course, in the morning on the way to school. And then another time I was actually headed to a city council meeting, and it took me an hour to get there. It's a major safety issue. I mean, I know you guys are tired of hearing people complain about traffic, but this is a safety issue. There's no way for emergency traffic to get from the Cairo area to, say, the hospital if traffic is at a standstill. This area here is completely shut off. And putting the entrances to this high density development directly across Highway 25 from Hillside Lane and Robertson Road, that's just a tragedy waiting to happen. Turning left from either of these roads or Carolyn Lane toward Gallatin is already extremely dangerous due to the existing traffic and the high rate of speed in that stretch of highway. So please continue to look into this. I mean, you know, I just ask those of you that have concerns to continue to fight this development. It's not the right location for a development of this type. And, you know, I want to move on to the Facebook. And I just want to ask you, please do not approve this variance for Facebook. With all of this growth all over the city and all over the county, it's too much. I mean, the city literally has burst out of its boundaries, and people have been through enough with COVID and quarantine and masks and hybrid and virtual school and the stress and the fear. And now we're faced with losing our sleep. I mean, that's a basic human need. It's essential to all of us. And I live directly across Highway 25 from the construction site. We're going to hear it all. We're going to see it all. And between working jobs and taking care of our families and doing the things that we have to do in our lives, honestly, attending county commission meetings and city council meetings and just to keep up with what's coming, it's exhausting. I mean, I was at the commission meeting last Monday night. We didn't get home until 11:30. I got up, went to work, came home, tried to jump on this call. And it's just something. Every time we turn around, I mean, the citizens are faced with something on every square inch of the city and the county. And the reality is our roads are terrible. Our schools are packed. Traffic is horrible. Our quality of life is diminishing faster than the national debt, or shall I say the county's debt. It's just too much. When is it going to stop? Saying yes to this request will be the beginning of many, many more requests from Facebook. I think we all know that. This is our city. Someone please speak on behalf of the citizens who live here. Please say no to this request, which will destroy our peace and quiet we deserve. Thank you.
Thank you, man. And again, a reminder for those who have called by a cell phone, you can raise your hand if you'd like to speak by hitting *9. Moving on to Frank Marchese. Go ahead.
Yes, hi, Frank Marchese, 589 Harris Lane. I would also like to speak on the blasting variance. I just, council knows I've come to you several times with blasting complaints at Kensington Downs. Just recently, we had a water pipe burst on the outside of our house due to the blasting. From what I understand, it's the 6th pipe in the 5th house of the immediate area, which has been damaged by blasting in Kensington Downs alone. My home has damage. Our neighbors' homes have damage. I know of at least 4 neighbors who have reported damage. We make blasting complaints to the state. They come back saying that they're unfounded because your house is settling. I have cracks in my house to prove it. My neighbors have cracks in their houses. Just the burst pipe, which I had to pay a plumber an emergency rate to come in, dig 3 feet down into my lawn to get to the pipe, which was sheared off in the gravel bed because of the vibrations of blasting. If you want to prove blasting damage, you need a blasting expert, and all the experts work for the blasting companies. So you're high and dry when you go to find a blasting expert to prove it. I've had pictures fall off my walls. Never mind the noise level. You know, I'm a big proponent of the noise ordinance and enforcing it. I even have a petition out there to include legal holidays to that exception to the noise ordinance. I'm waiting to get enough signatures before I bring it to you. This is supposed to be a quiet town, supposed to be a country town. This is why we moved here. And in the year and a half that we've lived here, that quietness and that tranquility has just disappeared. If you allow this variance through for the Wallhawk project, what is the next developer going to do for the next development coming up? What happens when they ask for a variance and then the next developer asks for a variance? I know you want this city to grow, but it's got to grow smartly, and it's growing out of control. currently contain, I don't want to speak about traffic right now. I just want to stay on this, on the blasting. If they blast 24/7 and God forbid something happens in the middle of the night, who do we call? Who do those residents call in the middle of the night to make a complaint and get action taken for them? Like I said, the state has closed all of my blasting complaints unfounded, my neighbor's blasting complaints unfounded. There is no recourse to mitigate damage to your home from this blasting. And this is just local in Kensington Downs. I can't imagine what Wohawk is going to do 24/7. The other thing I'd like to bring up is, again, the Harris Lane and Long Hollow intersection. I know the traffic study is under review. The traffic on this, the speed limit on this street is constantly being ignored. When I walk the dog down the street, I am constantly motioning for people to slow down. My real question is, how many people does it take to complain, and for how long before real action is taken, other than painting an arrow in the road or listening to a traffic expert who doesn't live on the street? I know I'm one resident here, but my word has to count for something. I don't take it lightly that I come to this council every chance I get to complain about this for a year and a half already. And nothing is still done about this intersection. Either lower the speed limit, dead end the street, cul-de-sac the street. It is not safe. Last week, there was an accident at the intersection, and I had a tractor trailer backing up Harris Lane by itself. And after about 15 minutes, somebody went out to guide it. I even called the chief. I said, you got to send somebody because this looks like a dangerous situation here. And it was addressed, but I'm saying this street is not wide enough. It should not have a 35-mile-an-hour speed limit. The traffic can certainly go up to Greenlee, make a right, go down Greenlee. There is no reason that Harris Lane needs to be, this stretch of Harris Lane needs to be continually used as a cut through from Long Hollow to Greenlee. You guys, they made the effort to connect Long Hollow and Greenlee. People don't use it. We have to force people to use that intersection and stop speeding down this road, this narrow road with no lines and one street light. Thank you.
Thank you. And again, I'll remind those on cell phone, if you'd like to speak, please hit *9. That will be raise your hand and we'll recognize you shortly. Next, we have Ray Carmen. Go ahead.
Yes, good evening. Thank you very much for having us on tonight. I appreciate it very much. Just want to talk real quick about the Douglas Lane Twin Eagles issue. And we've already submitted. First off, thank you all very much for your work. I know y'all have a thankless job sometimes, but thank you for what you do. Last week or 2 weeks ago, we kind of submitted to you what our thoughts are on the place. So I thought tonight I maybe want to address some things that were said last time. The first part was about someone mentioned the landowner has the right to build on the property. And we as a community out at Douglas Lane, none of us are opposed to the developer building houses on the property. And we're not opposed to him making money on it. We never have been. You know, if he wants to put in a county road and build houses to county regulations, you know, we're completely okay with that. We understand he has that right. Being in real estate business, I also know that soils will determine how many houses he can build if he goes through the county. And I know that could probably be a difficult thing, is that he probably won't get as many as he wanted. But also just want to mention, you know, he does have the right to do that. But in real estate, builders and developers typically do a due diligence period in which they do their studying and their thinking and checking on things. And I understand that Mr. Jones is probably disappointed with the pushback he's gotten from the community over here. However, he had the right to do his due diligence before buying the property. And he probably could have checked with everyone over here and found out that we were going to be opposed to that many houses coming into this place. So I just want to say that, again, we're not opposed to him building on it. Our desire would be, since we all have to go according to county regulations, and this is county property, we would just request that the city allow him to go through the county. I realize in life, sometimes we do make a mistake and maybe spend too much on something and have a possible regret. But again, he had the right to check on all this before buying the property. And I also just want to address a comment that was made about Twin Eagles needing an additional exit, and that this was kind of like the last opportunity for him to have that. I would like to submit that when Twin Eagles was started many, many years ago, the exit to 109, I do not think would have been an issue, especially if it was a one-way in and one-way out. Everything that's going on 109 now, there's other properties like the Long Hollow Baptist property. They're going to be getting an exit and entrance off of 109. So he could have done that, but choices were made on his decisions on how to plan, and they didn't plan for that early. And I would just submit that we as the citizens of Douglas Lane, I don't feel like it's right that we pay for that lack of foresight, because that wasn't our decision to make on that. So anyway, all that just to say, we appreciate everything you do as a citizen over here on Douglas Lane. I'm just simply requesting that you allow the county to handle that. That would be, I think, the best in everyone's interest. And even if he's allowed to build, as Mr. Andy said, 50 to 60 houses, in our opinion, that's a lot better than 178 to 200. Thank you for your time, and we appreciate everything you do.
Thank you. Moving on to a cell phone caller, cell phone ending in 224. And *6 to unmute. Cell phone ending in 224.
Yes, this is Jimmy Cunningham. I'm a resident of 587 Douglas Lane, and my comments will be relatively short. I did send emails to the 4 commissioners that had email addresses, and I do appreciate them responding to that, allowing us to communicate. Saves a lot of time here too. I actually will echo a couple of things that Ray just said, and one of the notes that I had put down was due diligence. I am a businessman, been in business many years, bought a business after moving here to Gallatin about 4 years ago, partnership in one. And one of the things that we look at is due diligence. And I understand Mr. Jones, as I emphasized the other night, and they were given quite a bit of time to do that, that they had plans, and we had the same issue with a wedding venue on Douglas on 2 different occasions, and their plans, and that was brought up to them as well. And thankfully, the Planning Commission did address that and agreed with that. I think one thing I would like to mention, and I realize this goes back over several councils over the years, so this does not necessarily impact the current council members, but one thing that is done is there has been a lack of action taken by the council over the years in allowing Twin Eagles to continue to grow without an exit in mind. And that should have been addressed some time ago. And we don't need to make a knee-jerk decision now because someone is wanting to continue to build. And I certainly support their right to do that. However, even though I'm not a citizen of Gallatin, when you make decisions to expand through attrition and growth and accepting new subdivisions or growth in subdivisions, that does impact me and all the neighbors here on Douglas Lane. So I would just hope that you would go back and again, I agree with what Ray just said and would endorse allowing this to go back to the county since it is in the county to begin with, and letting us address it through the County Planning Commission and the powers that be there. And I do appreciate those of you that have taken time to respond to emails. I know a couple of council members particularly have driven out here. And I think anytime you make a decision on something, it is your responsibility to know that area that you're making the decisions on that impacts lives there. And I do appreciate those that have done that. And I appreciate all of you for allowing an opportunity to address this. And again, I would close by saying I would I would request that this go back to the county rather than through the city, and let us address it that way, and maybe can either limit this or reach a better decision on it. Thank you.
Thank you. Victoria? Go ahead, Victoria.
I'm here, but I'm going to let my husband speak first, Jack Hagan, and then I'll speak after him.
Yes, good evening. My name is Jack Hagan. We live at 599 Douglas Lane. Just a couple things I want to comment on. The first council session regarding this was were blatantly untrue. First, it was stated that the planning committee recommended this thing. In fact, it was unilaterally rejected and unanimously rejected by the planning committee. And it appears that the effort now is to override that decision is now being considered. One wonders why we even have a planning committee. The next statement was that Judy, our road superintendent, was planning to widen Douglas Lane. I spoke with Judy this week and last week too. She has no intentions of widening this lane. She can't do it because she would have to buy every inch off the road. So she's not going to do that. You also have in your possession a petition from the homeowners out here, some 80 people that are not in favor of this and not wanting this. Your own fire department told you, your chief of the fire department in Gallatin said the road is dangerous. They won't be able to have access in it if any traffic's coming down. So why are we residents being taken advantage of so Mr. Jones can make more profit? A statement was made that all area residents in Twin Eagles are all in favor of this. In fact, we did some limited canvassing of the neighborhood that is grossly untrue. Matter of fact, most of the people we talked to were not in favor of it. In conclusion, the only people that will benefit from this change is the developer and perhaps the bankers that write the mortgages for the new properties. We, the residents, will be subjected to unsafe roads and more congestion. Also, why hasn't the state been approached for direct access to Route 109? And if you say that's impossible, all you have to do is go down to the new construction on south of the bridge and look at all the accesses they put down there. If they can do it down there, by gosh, they ought to be able to do it up here. If you travel south, there's a number of them, including a new apartment development that they just made an access for. I don't believe that they can't. I would like to see some proof of discussions with the state that tell us that they can't do that. Thank you for your consideration. Sorry I'm venting, but I'm very frustrated with this and all the ridiculous growth that's going on in Gallatin. Thank you.
Okay, I'd like to say something if you don't mind. This is Victoria. We live at 599 Douglas Lane. I've spoken to a few of the councilmen and we are a little upset about the whole thing that's going on out here with Mr. Jones. And I've got to agree with what Jimmy Cunningham and Ray Carmen had to say about, he does have a right to build out here. And it is his right. It is his land. He bought that land. But maybe he should have thought all this out before he chose to want to build. My understanding is 167 additional homes. My also understanding was that he was told some 15 years ago from the City of Gallatin's Planning Commission, that once he got to a certain unit of homes, he had to have a second egress and entrance and exit. Well, he had that access for that, but he sold it apparently to City of Gallatin for that new road that they're putting in where the overpass is going over 109 Hatton Track. I guess my concern is right now, today, actually, I'm assuming it was a state because 109 is a state road coming from Gallatin to making a left onto 25 right now. They're widening and they're extending the left turn lane onto 25 by at least 3 times the length that it was. So the city the state has realized that there's not enough turn lane there and there was going to be a rear end accident out there. So if that's being taken care of by the state, what are we going to do about 25? Who has to fix that when we have this additional traffic coming down? Because right now it's just not wide enough the way it is for additional, even if it was, if it's agreed to that he can have put in more city homes. Right now, the road can't handle it. If the state is fixing their portion, who's going to fix 25? because that's not a city road. I don't believe it's a county road, correct?
Yes.
So my concern is, first off, the safety of Douglas Lane. I don't know how it can be fixed, and I understand Mr. Jones is probably going to build one way or another, but I would just assume have the possible 50 to 60 homes as opposed to 167 or 170 or 80 homes. We just can't handle that kind of traffic. And I just honestly believe Gallatin is growing way, way, way too fast. And the city kind of lives in a bubble, and you're not outside of the city limits figuring out what's going on in the county when the city's growing so fast. And I appreciate your time, and I appreciate those councilmen that I've spoken to over the last few weeks, and those that have come out here and see the road out here and understand it. And the ones, Mr. Hayes, who rides his bike out here, I understood from the last council meeting. So y'all have a good evening, and I appreciate it.
Thank you. Moving on, Rick, go ahead.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your time tonight and the opportunity to speak to you. My only issue that I wanted to bring up is on the agenda tonight is the Project Wool Hawk ordinance exemption request. And I'll echo things that have already been said, and I won't repeat those for the sake of time. I have emailed a number of you on the city council, and I've also reached out to the county commissioners as well about this issue. As a citizen here, let me mention, I live at 1775 Hartsville Pike if I failed to do that. My property is adjacent to part of the project. That project covers well over 600 acres. So there's a lot of properties that are close by. And what we're living through today is construction noise that begins about 6:15 a.m. to 6:30 and lasts until dark. So during the summer months, obviously that's taken us up to about 8:30. I can recognize that if this is Facebook, that they want to speed up their construction. I can certainly appreciate that, but I don't appreciate it being done at the expense of citizens and people who live nearby. We're already living through quite a bit of noise. To live through that I think it was 24 hours a day for 5 days a week, certainly better than 7, but still not acceptable to us. We have young kids who are still in school. We have parents at work across this area, and the impact to them is certainly not worth this project trying to save money or to at least speed up their progress. It's very concerning, and I know back in 2015, it seems there's a Tennessean article where the council was addressed some noise ordinance as well with, I believe it was Audette's at the time. And the response there is, we're not going to hear this. We have too many people complaining. And that if we approve some exemption or some change in this, it just opens the door for future requests. And I believe that's the case with Facebook. I believe Facebook probably did their due diligence as well. They knew what they were getting into. And now they're coming back for a request to do an exemption. And I don't think that's fair to the citizens of the county, let alone the city. And I would appreciate you considering our perspectives as you discuss this topic later tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Brian Goodwin, go ahead.
Hello?
Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I'm a resident on Douglas Lane, and I just wanted to call in regards to that y'all was looking at tonight. I know last week y'all had mentioned in the meeting that the road was 12, 13 feet wide, Douglas Lane speaking of, and then by the end of the meeting, y'all guaranteed that it was easily 18 feet wide. How many of y'all have been out there on Douglas Lane? Have any of y'all been out there? And y'all know it's not 18 feet wide, correct? It's 13 feet. I went out and measured it in about 2 or 3 different spots. There is no shoulder. There's nowhere to widen the road. And like I said, I pull a trailer about 3 times during the week down through there in a full-size truck. If I pass another regular-sized vehicle, I have to pull off to the side of the road and almost stop just to allow them to get by me. And if we start adding the traffic as far as dump trucks and the heavy traffic, back to what some of the previous callers have said, it has a lot to do with safety. And I understand if someone gets killed or someone gets hurt, it's easy for us to come back and say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize that." But be the parent of that person or a loved one of that person that does get killed. A sorry is great, but it's just don't bring them back. And I think you're inviting a huge issue with that. Like I said, I know that the meeting last week, it went from being 10 to 12 feet wide up to 18. And the reality is 13 feet. So, and as far as what I think Victoria just mentioned, she said something about, or one of the previous callers, I'm sorry, that exiting off 109. And I know that Jack said something in regards to him having the foreknowledge and looking ahead of time as far as trying to get it approved ahead of time. But he should have done that before he took the money from the city not to exit off of 109. I mean, that does fall back on him. And as has been said, we don't have a problem with him building. That's his property, he has the right. But to pocket that money and to shovel all of the traffic out onto Douglas Lane is insane. And I know the couple of y'all that are on the screen raised your hands and said you've been out there. I've spoke to a couple of you over the past week, but I invite the others. I invite the others that have not been out there to drive out there. I would say park, but there's really nowhere for you to park unless you want to park in the driveway. But you're welcome to park into my driveway to take a look at it. I'm at 604B. But I do invite you to do that because, like I said, we're inviting. I know I'm rambling, but I just want you to know my opinion of that is I'm against it. So I do appreciate your time. I know y'all got a hard job ahead of you, and I appreciate everything you do.
Thank you. Julie Vero, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. I live at 614 Douglas Lane, and I think you guys all are very clear that there are probably no residents out here on Douglas Lane that want this. And I'm not going to repeat everything that you all have already heard, because I know this is a stressful situation for you. You're trying to balance this between everybody interested. I agree with what the other speakers have said. I just wanted to raise two other issues. One, in terms of the expansion of Twin Eagles, I haven't heard any information about a need for more homes like this, that there's nothing like that was presented, and maybe that's not supposed to be presented, but I also believe from listening last time that there's a possibility for another road to come out onto 25 besides Douglas Lane, but it would be much more complicated and involve purchasing other property. And I just know that sometimes people need a no before they get creative and look for other ways. Because obviously the road coming onto Douglas Lane is the least expensive and easiest for the developer, but it's at a really high price for all of the residents on Douglas Lane and all of the safety issues with that many houses expanding. So those are the main points that I'm raising, and I just know that sometimes a no gets people creative and looking for other solutions. So that's all I have to say. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Scott Goodwin, go ahead.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, I live on Douglas Lane as well. Want to express my concerns and my extreme opposition to this. It's already been mentioned, the road is a lot narrower than it was stated by someone on the committee last call. I spoke to Judy Harden as well because somebody also on the call a couple of weeks ago had stated they had spoken with Judy Harden, and the implication was she was good with this moving forward on the road. And I know she's admitted that they don't have any say. The city can implement, do what they want to do. But I spoke to her. She said, I didn't say it's good. It's a bad idea. It's a narrow road. It cannot handle it. She said she was going to forward that on to somebody after I said that's what was said on the call. But for someone to give an implication that that county is kind of a stamp of approval, they're good with it, kind of tells everybody on that committee, oh, okay, that's another person. It's okay. So it's a validation point. And I think even accidental misinformation is dangerous if it's been, and I assume it's not being done for the sake of just getting something through, but whether it's intentional or not, it's dangerous when we're not dealing with facts. Same thing with the road. It went from whatever footage to 20 feet or whatever the numbers was they threw out. That road is very narrow. I took a tape measure and went across it in several spots. It's way shorter with no shoulder. And when it came out in the meeting that it was admitted the builder sold his rights to 109 for a sizable profit, I agree with everyone else. He has a right to make money and nobody's trying to stop him from being able to do that. But he had access to a second exit that did not jeopardize our safety, that would have taken care of that. And when he chose to take the money, I don't think that obligates us to be jeopardized and our safety to be jeopardized because he didn't think that through. And now he's just going to shove that down our street and be our problem. I heard someone on the committee talked about how respectable of a builder the developer is. I don't question that, don't know him, but that is not a valid reason to put our safety at risk, whether it's now or years down the road, just because you've tapped access here, because eventually they will access this. And I think it's very true. The developer's profit margin does not trump our safety. I would expect this city, I would expect this county to validate that with the decisions that are made, that this is turned down. I'll tell you what I was most appalled with on the last call. I heard Miss Love towards the end of the call. She said she would have a hard time. She didn't say it's a hard time. She said she could not vote for this. It could put people in jeopardy where someone could possibly die as a result of this action. I heard laughter from more than one person. And I'll tell you what, I cannot believe, I was shocked that anybody could chuckle and come back with a comment. I think something was said, something along the lines, and I can't quote me, death does happen on roads. But if we make a decision, if you guys make a decision that could contribute and cause one additional death, it's not a laughing matter. I will tell you, I have firsthand experience. I had two next door neighbors that lived by me years ago. Two teenagers died on a windy, curvy, narrow road. You tell their parents that it was a laughing matter. And if there's a decision that could be made to keep from putting us, our people, our kids in jeopardy, I think it's important. If everyone on the committee, if you had a parent, if you had a child, if you had a spouse, if you had a grandchild that rode on that road on a daily basis, I don't think you would be chuckling. And I think you would take that responsibility very seriously to make sure we're not doing something that could cause liability down the road. I think we have an obligation to do what's right, safety of the community first and foremost. Not trying to keep someone from making money, but it's a death trap waiting to happen. And I've seen it happen. And I would like to think that people would do the right thing to make sure they're doing everything to protect us long term. And I strongly urge you guys to turn this down. I think the city, if y'all pass this, I really think you guys are assuming responsibility and liability for any additional deaths and injury and accidents that happen down the road. If you guys made the bad decision of putting this into a road that causes neglect because you guys approved something that wasn't okay. I know you guys have a hard job. I would ask you guys to strongly turn this down. It's not right. It don't work. It's not acceptable. And if you guys really put yourself as a resident here, you would see it that way as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Katie Carmen, go ahead.
Hi. My name is Katie Carmen. I live at 560 Douglas Lane, and I am also calling about the Twin Eagles annexation. And I have a couple of points that I want to speak about. But I was just curious, about 2 years ago, a pond that was on this property that he has purchased near Douglas Lane was drained and filled with dirt and construction material. Were the proper EPA permits pulled and land disturbance permits done? This filled pond is in the direct path of the proposed road off Douglas Lane. Was the fill done properly so to ensure no water contamination downstream and no future settling of the road? If the road's put there, who's responsible for this if it settles or causes issues in the future? So I was just curious about that as I watched them fill that pond on several times as I drove down the road. Another thing is, as to propose a one-way street, it just seems inevitable that once all the houses are built, the city would be forced to open it up to a two-way street. Therefore, the one-way street seems to be a temporary solution to that. And then lastly, what will happen to the family walks taken out here? What would this annexation and eventual growth do to the family bike rides or my daughters and friends horseback riding? We bought out here to enjoy these things and truly want it to continue this way. So please vote no on the annexation of Twin Eagles and allow the developer to take this through the county. So I just wanted to bring those up. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Andrew Finney, go ahead.
Hey, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Excellent. I won't belabor the point, but I agree with our neighbors. I live at 587B Douglas Lane. We love it out there. It's country. It's mostly agricultural properties. That's why we purchased it. We enjoy the quietness, the lack of traffic. I'm an avid biker. I biked on Douglas Lane this morning and all around that area. I cannot imagine increased traffic that would occur as a result of this being an egress from that subdivision, ingress or egress. Safety is a huge concern. We dealt with this, had a professional traffic study done by a neighbor who wanted to have a venue created on their property. And the safety issues are numerous. It just doesn't work. There is no shoulder on our road. There are 4 90-degree turns within a mile of each other. It just would be an absolute mess if we have neighborhood traffic with a cluster of homes, cars coming in and out from the subdivision. Safety as an issue is probably the biggest concern, and the lack of ability for safety vehicles to get in and out. And then just again, the reason for that area being what it is because of the homeowners. That's what they desire it to be. And again, not against Mr. Jones and making a profit. I'm a business person as well, and I understand that, but also recognize the impact that it's going to have on the surrounding communities. Would ask you to consider the county planning commission, the county's response on this when it was proposed, and it being unanimous against it. Appreciate it. Thanks for your time. Appreciate what you do.
Thank you. And before we get to the last person, if you have joined us late on cell phone, hit *9 to raise your hand and you'll be recognized. Audrey Finney, go ahead.
Hey, good evening. My name's Audrey, and I didn't know my husband was going to call right before me, so sorry for 2 Finneys at once. But like everybody has said this evening, we live on Douglas Lane. We're at 587B. We've been here for about 7 years. We have 3 sons, and I don't want to repeat what everybody else has said, but I do echo my neighbors here. We have such great neighbors that my husband, like he just said, we we run out here a lot. We bike, our boys bike, people are walking their dogs. And for anybody that does bike a lot, it's a gorgeous cut through where we normally see so many bikers on a regular occurrence. And so I just want to speak as a mom, that has future teenage drivers on this road. It's just already getting busy. And as everybody has said, I know you guys have heard that, but just really, we cannot handle any more traffic out here. And just for the safety of our families, I'm just saying what everybody else has said, but just wanted to state that I'm opposed as well. Thank you so much for your time tonight.
Thank you. Cell phone ending in 383. You'll hit *6 to unmute. Go ahead.
Yes, my name is Andy Dyer. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I live at 600 Douglas Lane, and I agree with my neighbors with opposing the annexation of Bill Duncan property there. As an avid cyclist, just like the other folks have said, I think we would be losing a real gem of a route that connects to Scotty Parker and up through the northern parts of the county. And I think I really feel if other cyclists within the county knew that this short stretch of county road would be lost to city traffic, I think they would. There'd certainly be more people on this call. And one of the things that you don't get out of a traffic study, I don't think, is the amount of cycling traffic. And it'd be nice if we had an accurate, account of how many folks actually use Douglas Lane for their weekly exercise. And again, just opposing and annexation there. And thanks for your time.
Thank you. Cell phone ending in 888. Go ahead. *6 to unmute. Cell phone ending in 888. Go ahead.
Hi, yes, this is June Hedge, and I live at 604 Douglas Lane. And I pretty much, I don't want to belabor the points that have been made so far, but I feel as the others do that Douglas Lane is just too narrow for any additional traffic at all. Most of the people that live out here, I have a smaller plot probably than most everybody, and I think it's like 6 acres. And it really would be in the keeping with the means that we have pretty much the same all along Douglas Lane. But that's beside the point. It's a great area, and like the others have said, there's an awful lot of bike riders that do use the lane, and I think people are so cooperative here, insofar as that, and also for the stopping or almost stopping, when you're coming towards someone. I have just a regular sized car, but almost without fail, every trip that I go out, you just have to do that. And there's a lot of areas that people are not going to take that extra effort, just to wait and let the other person, have the right of way on such a narrow street. But anyway, just wanted to put my vote in there, but I really would like that you just can't delay this and actually just cancel it and so that we don't have to keep going through this. Thank you so much, and thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Chris Osborne, go ahead.
Yes, I'm a new resident at 620 Douglas Lane. And I agree with what everybody's saying so far about Douglas Lane and the road width and everything. Currently, I do not have a house there. We're planning to build a house there. But just for kicks and grins, I do live in Gallatin, and I just measured my residential subdivision road that's in front of my house. And it's 24 feet, and it's not even a main road. So I don't really understand how this can even be considered but I'm going to keep it pretty short and sweet. But I agree with everyone else from Douglas. This really should not happen from a safety standpoint. It's not even the size of a new common residential area. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Hayes, that's everyone.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it. All right, this time we'll have the mayor's comments.
Thank you. I do have one item for the end of the meeting related to the governor's extension of governor's orders being extended to allow virtual meetings to the end of September. We can discuss that at that time. But right now I do have a proclamation to present. This is a proclamation that was requested for this day specifically, so we're doing it at this meeting. And this is about Overdose Awareness Day. So I'm going to read the proclamation and present it to this council and to our public. So this says, whereas overdoses can occur in people who have an addiction to substances, as well as those who do not, such as someone accidentally overdosing on prescription opioids after a surgery or an injury, an elderly person consuming too much of a prescribed pain reliever, a teenager experimenting with illegal drugs for the first time, or a child ingesting opioid pills or powders from a home medicine cabinet or other storage location. And whereas, as in many communities throughout the country, the national opioid epidemic poses a significant threat to public health and safety in Gallatin. Overdoses related to opioids are affecting more family members, neighbors, and friends than ever before. And the city and community partners are working to address this growing crisis through various efforts, including the Sumner County Recovery Court and its intensive outpatient program, also called IOP, using judicial oversight and monitoring to help participants achieve and maintain recovery and live law-abiding lives. And whereas opioids are a class of highly addictive drugs used to reduce pain and include prescription opioids like oxycodone and hydrocodone, as well as illegal opioids like heroin. And whereas residents can help prevent overdose deaths by being aware of the signs, knowing how to respond to overdose, and disposing of unused medicines and prescription drugs at various Dropbox locations or during drug take-back days at various pharmacy locations. The city, in conjunction with the Sumner County Anti-Drug Coalition, has also taken great measures to have naloxone available to all first responders as well as to the citizens of Gallatin. And whereas the city of Gallatin will recognize International Drug Overdose Awareness Day on August 31st to call additional attention to drug overdoses, especially involving opioids, reduce the stigma of drug-related deaths, and bring awareness to the problem of opioid addiction. And whereas this year marks the 20th anniversary of observing this important day. Now, therefore, I, Paige Brown, Mayor of the City of Gallatin, do hereby proclaim August 31st, 2020 as International Overdose Awareness Day, and ask Gallatin, Tennessee and its residents to call this, to observe this day. So here is the proclamation, and I have presented it to you all. And thank you for that.
All right. Do you want to go ahead and vote on whether we're going to have our meetings through September or not now, or do you want to wait?
That's up to you, Mr. Chairman.
When did you say, the end of September?
End of September is what his latest orders have allowed extensions through.
Okay.
So we have and you know, we've had enough discussions as to what our concerns and limitations are. So you kind of know what they are. And
does anybody want to make a motion on that?
I'm fine with whatever you want to do.
I don't either. I'll make a motion that we extend it through September, then the end of September.
I'll second that motion.
Well, John D and I won't have a problem with that, I don't think, because we don't really want to share the pizza and candy we're getting up here.
I agree.
Is there any discussion on this? All right. Can we have a roll call, please?
Vice Mayor Camp,
No.
Councilman Alexander,
Yes.
Councilman Fan,
Yes.
Councilman Fennell,
Yes.
Councilman Hayes. Councilman Hayes,
Oh, yes.
Councilwoman Love, Yes.
And Councilman Overton is not here, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 yeses and 1 no.
Okay, we'll carry it on through September then. Okay, are you through, Mayor?
I am. Thank you so much.
Okay, if nobody has a problem, I mean, I'd like to see us move item 10, 11, and 12 and 13 up to the top of the agenda. Does anybody have a problem with that?
Good idea.
Everybody okay with that?
Yes.
Okay. We don't need a roll call on that, do we?
Yeah.
Attorney?
Chair. No objection.
Okay.
No
All
problem.
right. All right, no problem. All right. So we're going to do item number 10 first. So item number 10, and that is Chuck Stewart.
Here he is.
Is the request from Woolhawk for a variance from adopted construction work hours in order to work 24 hours a day, 5 days per week with drilling and crushing at night.
Okay, does anybody have any comments on this?
Well, I'd like to say that I am, if I can speak, I am happy about Project Woolhawk. I'm happy about Facebook, but I don't believe we need to subject the people that live here with 24-hour noise constantly.
Yeah.
Councilman Hayes, if I may.
Yeah, I'm going to ask that y'all let Mr. Fenton speak because their requests are somewhat specific and truly you need to hear what Mr. Fenton says because I don't think you're going to want to make a determination at this time because what they're asking for is actually not construction as it is during the day. But I'll let him go. I'm sorry.
All right, Mr. Fenton, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilman Hayes. This is an important decision. As you probably know, the police department and codes department are by statute able to make this decision, but I'm supportive of codes bringing this to the council to be made aware of it. In your packet is a lot of technical information. I've looked at all of it. I need to admit, since I'm not an acoustical engineer, it doesn't mean anything to me.
Hey, can I interrupt, James? You're kind of hard to hear. You might want to.
I can't hear.
Yeah, I can't hear. I'm scared to say that.
Okay, my bad. Then I'll just kind of start over then. This is an important decision. And the police department and codes by statute are able to make that call, but I'm supportive of codes requesting the council be made aware. In your packet, you have a lot of technical information, and I've looked at it and need to admit, I'm not an acoustical engineer. I don't think any of you are, so none of that information really makes a lot of sense. And I want to be able to support whatever decision you make. So to give you all a solid understanding of what you are deciding, I've arranged for you to take a tour of the property. So over the next 3 days, you can sign up at 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning on Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday. Unless, as Ken Widener has indicated, there's a storm closing in which case we'll extend that into next week. But you'll be able to tour the site and then go to the closest house so that you can hear for yourself exactly what's going on out there. I want to make you aware that we've had 3 emails and a phone call expressing that they are against allowing this. 2 of the emails are from the Hames family who live off of Hartsville Pike, and tonight you heard from Mr. Haynes. Their residence is approximately 1 mile from where the rock crushing will take place. We also received an email from a Mrs. Ward who lives at 171 Greystone Drive, which is just over 2 miles from the site. And I can reassure her that there will be no impact on her life. The mayor's office also received a call from Vicki Trout, Connie Trout's wife. And tonight you also heard from 2 callers expressing that they do not support this. So to explain what is being done on the site to minimize any impact on the surrounding houses in the county, I've asked Mr. Jeff Mason and Alex Henry, both with DPR, the construction firm developing this site. But before they speak, I'd like to address a caller's concern. It needs to be stated specifically that this request has nothing to do with blasting. Blasting will take place daily between 1:30 and 2:30 in the afternoon. There were letters sent out and all the doors were knocked on within, I guess, 1,000 feet. So everyone out there has been made aware of this. This request only addresses crushing and drilling. Also, there will not be truck traffic. So the relevant concern regarding the beeping of the trucks, that the sound, the sound that trucks make, which is, I understand, can be obnoxious, that will not be occurring at night also. But to that end, Jeff, if you could, Jeff Mason with DPR, if you'd like to talk a little bit about what you guys are doing to abate any noise problems. And we'll have to undo Jeff.
Yeah, I think I'm unmuted now.
Yes.
Okay.
Appreciated everybody to allow us the opportunity to convey our, obviously we're concerned with the residents in the community, and some of the provisions to clarify what James just elaborated on is this night variance is specific to rock drilling in certain locations of the site and rock crushing, and that is it. Both those activities are required to support the daytime earthwork and blasting operations. Essentially, the rock drilling equipment is required to stay ahead of the blasting requirements. So that's the reason for the variance. The additional measures that we're going to be putting in place is what you'll see out at the site tomorrow if you visit. We are in process of installing a berm, a 40-foot tall berm around the rock crushing operations, which will additionally deflect any noise that equipment emanates. So I think an earlier comment was when the leaves fall down, there's no trees really doing anything. So that's the additional measure we're putting in place for the berming operation around the rock crushing. So we also have sound attenuation equipment all around the site in order to monitor any occurrences during our operations so that we'll have actual data. Again, some of that data we provided as part of the variance request, along with our safety concerns if the variance is not approved. James, let me know if you want me to elaborate on anything else.
No, I appreciate that. Those are some of the things they're putting in place. I'm asking that this get put on the agenda for next week for you to give Mr. Stewart an indication of your support. If, because of the weather, you are unable to tour before then, it should be deferred to the next week. Additionally, I've asked that our police department go out to the site and take sound level recordings to ensure that any of the third-party information passed along can be confirmed. I will, if this is agreeable to you, I will contact each of you and schedule a trip for you out there individually to tour the site so that you can have firsthand information. I just want you to be comfortable in whatever your decision you make so that you understand exactly what the decision that you're making. The just commentary and the technical information that got sent along, I don't think is sufficient for you to make a decision on. So with that, Mr. Hayes, I'll turn it back over to you.
Great.
Okay. So, all right, Mr. Fennell.
James, or you or Jeff Mason, one I'd like to ask you, you're talking about going out there in the day to get an idea of what they're actually doing and get a sound to listen to what they're doing. Are they going to emulate the same sound during the day of what they would be hearing at night?
Yes, sir. Yes, that's exactly what they'll be doing between 8 and 11 on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. They're doing exactly the same thing intentionally to replicate what would be happening during the evenings for you.
And when he talks about rock crushing, is that like with a rock hammer on like a track hoe or something like that, like a jackhammer, or is it a machine that actually grinds the stone up?
I can't answer that. I'll turn that back over to Mr. Mason. Jeff?
I don't know if I'm still on mute.
You're good.
You can hear me.
I can hear you.
The rock drilling operation is a drill rig that was included in the packet, and those locations are shown on the site. They're on the north side of the site with actual rock drilling equipment, a vertical apparatus. The rock crushing equipment is literally just loading stone onto a conveyor and going through a rock crushing apparatus. So there's no, tap, 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 tap that everybody's probably accustomed to hearing in either operation. The drill is literally just a drill, like a large drill, I like to say a hand drill, but it's on a larger piece of equipment that just goes into the rock.
And again, I just want to support whatever this decision this board makes. I just want you to have all the information needed to make that decision. So again, Councilman Hayes can.
Mr. Hayes, could I ask a question, please?
Yes, go ahead.
During this rock crushing at night, will there be any trucks to take it out or not?
Mr. Mason?
No.
Yeah, I'm assuming I'm still on mute. No, there won't. The whole point of why we're doing this at night is to load the stone in the area where the rock crushing is to occur, and then load the stone into the rock crusher. So there's no to and from truck movement from where the stone is, hauled from and to the rock crushing area. So no truck movement.
Thank you.
Okay. Do we have a motion? Does anybody want to?
I'd like to ask a question.
Yes.
Is this a ball and mill crusher? Is that what you're talking about using if you're not using a round hammer?
Correct.
Okay.
There's some cut sheets that we provided that we can forward. We can actually hand them out tomorrow or make them available to you, what we permitted with the state for that equipment.
Okay. Do we hear motions? Anybody want to do this or defer it till next week? Or?
Craig, I'd like to say, I'd certainly like to go out to the site and listen myself.
Okay.
With your permission, Mr. Hayes, I will go ahead and call everyone and schedule a time.
Okay.
For these next few days, with the understanding that if the rain does move in, like Mr. Widener suggests it may, we may need to move some of this to next week. And if that happens, I would just simply ask that you not even consider it next Tuesday night until everyone's had a chance to be out there.
Okay. Sounds good. Is that all right with everybody?
Yes.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, item number 11, Bill McCord.
You let me unmute here and I will share my screen. I need to get to that particular item. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, I combined these items together, items 11, 12, and 13. I was not here at the last work session 2 weeks ago, so I will have a little bit maybe different presentation. I'm not going to really cover the items that were already discussed, although there's some clarification that needs to be made, maybe some other points. This property is identified as shown on the map on your screen and outlined in yellow. The appendage of the area shown in the square box, which would be the area that they're asking for annexation and zoning on, would extend as a width of a road right of way out to Douglas Lane and on the west end. This is adjacent to Twin Eagles. It's adjacent to phase 14. This is a slightly little older photograph when phases 11 and 12 were under construction and phase 14 is not shown, but it's just to the south of the box that's shown there outlined in yellow.
Mr. McCord?
Yes.
Bill, are you supposed to have something on the screen?
Yeah, just, okay, hold on just a second. Maybe I didn't hit the screen share button. Okay. How can you see that now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. Hit the right button that time. As I was describing the, I don't know if you can see my cursor or not on the screen.
Yes.
Can you? Great. That's even better. So this area here in yellow is phase 15, and that's the area subject to annexation and the zoning and master plan for just the first phase, I guess, of what will ultimately be additional lands that would be developed as well that's not subject to this application. To the south of that is phase 14, which is under development right now. And there's about 500 homes in Twin Eagles now. And as Nick had talked to y'all last meeting, that having that many homes with one street in and one street out is much less than desirable. Usually you get a street with one way in and one way out, or subdivision with 300 homes. That's pushing the signal warrant requirement. And what we don't want to have happen is two signals being placed at Wildcat Lane and the existing signal at 109 and Highway 25. The applicant, it was stated tonight, I think incorrectly, never had access to 109, never sold access to 109, did sell a portion of property to accommodate the interchange, but the property they sold required them to replat and redesign their subdivision on that east side. They never did show with the master plan any connection to 109 up there. So any land that was sold did not sell their connection out. It just sold out some areas that they could have developed in a different configuration of the subdivision. So, but we do have a substantially large subdivision with one way in and one way out. And this was discussed at when the council was considering phase 14. It was essentially a consensus that when the next phase of the subdivision were to come in, then there would have to be an alternative route to provide that at least second major connection to another roadway that would relieve the traffic congestion and impacts on Wildcat Lane and Highway 25. So this is not something that was just proposed in the last 2 months, 3 months, or 4 months. This is something that was discussed and even talked about extensively as needed at the time that phase 14 was approved. So of course, this provides access to Douglas Lane. There are some 90-degree curves on Douglas Lane in several locations, and it is a narrow road. Buck might be able to add some information about the width of the road, and it may be different in other places, and it has different asphalt material out there. So I'm somewhat familiar with the road too, because I do ride my bike on it as well. But it is a narrow road, but many of our roads that are owned and or maintained by the county that emanate from the city are a similar situation. So this is what happens in a lot of towns that are growing into rural areas with substandard roadways. This is a aerial photograph. I had to piece this together actually. Essentially the existing situation out there at Twin Eagles. This shows phase 14, and phase 15 would be located in this location with the street that would extend out to Douglas Lane here. Here you clearly can see the 90-degree curves out there on Douglas Lane and the configuration of Twin Eagles and its, let's call it landlocked status with only one way in. I thought it was important because this does a little better job of showing you the lot pattern and the street pattern in there now. And it also shows you the parcels as they exist now surrounding the area of Twin Eagles and the area that they want to annex. I mentioned the restriction on access to Highway 109. There is an access management plan for 109, and getting new access points and the design of those access points is highly regulated. So Twin Eagles doesn't have the ability to provide that access to 109. Likewise, the property to the north is in a conservation area, conservation easement, and it's not going to be developed. So the ability to provide a connection or future connection to that property is limited, and that's why it was platted the way it was. So the opportunities to provide access for Twin Eagles are to the south, back another access which has been proposed and is essentially on hold right now, is this phase 13B located in the south central portion of the property, which will provide another access to Highway 25. But again, it all has to funnel down through Wildcat Lane to use that alternative access. And it would only be a local street. It wouldn't be, meaning local street designed to local standards. It wouldn't be the wider street that you have at Wildcat Lane as it approaches Highway 25. Then there is also potential opportunity to extend but this property is, I believe, owned by not the applicant, to extend phase 14 to the west and meander, I guess, or even a straight line to Douglas Lane. But that's still adding traffic at a point on Douglas Lane, whether it occurs further to the north of the 90-degree turns, the first 90-degree turns, or to the south. Either way, it's adding traffic. Now, one thing that was not mentioned, and I think is important for y'all to be aware of, is the county adopted a new zoning resolution. All the properties around Douglas Lane that are in the county right now are zoned rural residential, which is very similar to the R1A zoning that was established on the property before the current zoning regulation. So all of the properties, including if he wishes to, Mr. Jones's property, all of these properties can be subdivided into 40,000 square foot lots, or little less than 1 acre lots, assuming they'll perk. Most of them haven't been divided up into that small of lots, but there are quite a few properties, including the large trout farm, trout-owned farm that's just to the west. It's usually being used for productive agriculture now, can be subdivided. That's a very large piece of property. And there are a number of other properties all the way to Scotty Parker that could be developed. There's been about 12 homes or so constructed along that corridor in the last 20 years or so. Even more, a few more here down on the south. So just because Twin Eagles is not may not connect through here doesn't mean that there's not going to be possibly a substantial enough additional traffic and or subdivisions that could be platted, not in the city, that will add traffic to that roadway. So I think that's fair, at least, to say that. Here is a more detailed description. It's like a survey of the area subject to be annexed, and you can see clearly here the road extending off over to Douglas Lane. This is the actual master development plan. It is a preliminary plan, of course, so doesn't have a lot of detail, but it does show you the lot pattern, the remaining portion of the parcel Mr. Jones owns, and the alignment of the street in proximity to the new lots that would be extended from existing phases in Twin Eagles. So those are the primary issues I think that are involved. Buck may want to talk about the street itself, Douglas Lane, that is. Of course, all the streets, if they were constructed in the city, would be built to city standards. And as was mentioned by, I think, one of the residents out there or who owns property out there, that would most likely be a 24-foot wide street that would be constructed throughout any properties that are annexed and developed in the city. I'd be glad to answer questions. Again, the Planning Commission did not recommend the rezoning or the annexation of this property.
Okay. Did Buck want to say anything?
Yeah, Craig, I can add a little bit to what Bill was saying. There's been several different comments made about the width of this street. We could go out there and probably get 30 different measurements throughout this corridor. There was a traffic impact study done by a professional traffic engineer. That in that study, it was noted that the average width of this particular roadway was 18 feet. I've driven the road. I can't say that I've actually put a measuring tape down on the road, but like I said, I would say just from driving, average is 16 to 18 feet in most areas. There are some narrower widths throughout the corridor, but like I said, for the most part, on the average, you're probably somewhere between 16 to 18 feet. As for the comments made concerning Judy Harden and her potentially widening this road, I mean, we understand that, in order to widen this road, all property owners would have to agree to that. And it would be a substantial cost for the county. I think when we said that, we were just speaking in terms of when this road was resurfaced, a roadway typically always has to be degrassed, which means there's grass that creeps up on the edge of the roadways. During the repaving process, that grass is removed, and typically during the repaving, that asphalt usually comes over another 2 to 3 inches off the edge of the roadway. So in average, when this road is repaved, it could essentially wind up being 6 inches to a foot wider than what it currently is.
Okay. Does anybody else have any comments or?
I've got quite a few questions, Craig, if I can ask.
Yeah.
Mr. Gregory, are you on here? David?
Yes, I'm on here.
It was, first of all, I'd like to say that I spent a lot of time out there today. I was probably out there 3 hours. I was out there.
I can't hear you.
The sound went away.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
I'd like to say that I spent a lot of time out there in that area. I probably was there 3 hours today. I talked to 25, 30 people. I've been out to the road, Douglas Lane, several different times. I have measured, just like Buck said, there's measurements all over the place out there. I only measured from the potential Randy Jones's property all the way to 25. That's the only area that I was out there in. I know that is a little bit dangerous road. It's a little narrow, like all county roads, what Bill said. My question to you, David Gregory, come out today. I was told
You're fading again.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I don't know what's wrong. But it was told to me today that if Randy was to develop this in the county, he's got the rights to hook up and use county, city water and city septic sewer. Is that correct?
Yes, he can.
So that is legal to do that.
Yes, it is.
So, and plus, if you do hook up and do that in the county, then you got to pay 10% more. Is that correct?
You got to pay 50% more. It's 1.5 times inside city rate.
For that, that's for the user, correct?
Right.
Okay, but he does have that right. So meaning, what I'm getting at is meaning he does not have to do a perk test on this land.
No, he could hook up to city sewer.
That's right. So what Bill McCord was saying, that under rural residential, if he's got 60 acres, he can put 60 houses right there. That's correct?
I don't know how many acres, houses he could put, but.
Bill, you want to chime in here?
I can. Each lot would have to be 40,000 square feet, which is just shy of an acre. And there would be areas that would have to be set aside for stormwater retention and the roadways themselves. That would eat up some. So they probably were not going to get, say, if they had 40 acres, they might be able to get 30 some odd lots, 35 lots.
But the county, so he wants to build that. He wants to do it in the county.
We lost you again.
So he's allowed to do that in the county?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and if he's allowed to do that in the county, then the county will have to furnish him an easement to get onto Douglas Road, correct?
Well, I guess they can't have a permit process for a street connection.
Is Andy Leaf on here also? Is there a representative on here for Andy Jones?
Hold on, I think I did see Andy Leith, but I'll have to unmute him, please. Hold on.
I'm sorry, I've just got a lot of questions I want to ask about this. Can you guys still hear me?
Yeah.
Here he is. Hold on. Oop, here. Okay, go ahead, Andy.
I'm here with Randy Jones as well in the office with me. So Councilman Fennell, go ahead and ask your whatever questions you got.
Have you heard everything that I've been saying?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So am I correct in saying if Randy was to put the houses on this and do it in the county, then the county will have to dedicate him usage to Douglas Lane? Is that correct?
Yes, sir. And that would be done through the county's development process, much like the cities. We would do a sketch plat, a preliminary plat, final plat, construction plans. And so all that would go through the county's planning department, which would be reviewed by Ms. Harden at the roadway office and the planning office as well. But let me also add too, Councilman Fennell, that, we have options within the county zoning ordinance to maximize the density. And when I say maximize the density, so the minimum lot size is 40,000 square feet, but we can also do cluster development or even a planned urban development in order to get that density back up there to get 50 or 60 lots as opposed to the 30 just with a straight rural residential zone. And I know that we can't really go into great detail tonight as to, what the cluster development provisions are or anything of that nature, but it allows you to get the density back due to losing ground to your right of ways and maybe some topography that's not quite desirable, things like that. So we feel like if we do have to develop this in the county, that we could still get 50, 60 lots, hopefully. But more importantly, I feel like that, and Mr. McCord and Buck can both jump in and correct me, but I feel like they would still want Twin Eagles connected to this development, which would still give access to those existing 500 homes to Douglas.
That was my next question. Mr. McCord, if he builds this in the county and he puts these houses in the county out there, the way that it would be so close to Twin Eagles, would he have connectability right there?
He certainly would under the proposed preliminary plan that he's shown us, even if the lot configuration was different, because those rights of way stub out to the edge of his property on at least two spots. Now, I realize that Mr. Gregory had mentioned that city sewer and water can be made available outside the city limits, and that was a resolution, I think, that was approved by the council back, I'm going to guess 2014 or so. I don't think that's a very good practice, and that's not consistent with the policy in the comp plan to be essentially giving the sewer away to developments outside the city, because you'll never get them in the city, and essentially it'll keep you from ever being able to expand the city in a uniform manner.
But it also keeps the utilities for having to put in a sewer later on if the septic systems go bad.
Okay.
I mean,
I'm just trying to fill out what all options that Mr. Jones has got. And I really want to make sure the people in the Douglas Lane area and Twin Eagles area understand the options that are out there for him. So Andy, what you just said is if he does it alone in the county, and what Bill just said, then there would be connectivity running Twin Eagles all the way through that property onto Douglas Lane, along with the houses that would be built in the county on Douglas Lane. That could potentially happen. That's what I'm trying to point out here. I'm trying to point out an alternative and try to find a different way to keep the traffic off and down off of Douglas Lane, and give an emergency exit to the people in Twin Eagles. I mean, this is a very hard decision to make, and I know tonight the decision won't be made, but I did see what Randy Jones was proposing to do. And Andy, would you like to read that, or do you want me to read that out?
Yes, I can do that, Councilman. So what Mr. Jones is proposing is to build out this phase or this section of Twin Eagles in 4 to 6 phases. At the current rate that he's building homes would take him, 10 years plus to get completely done. He's willing to build a couple of state lots on Douglas Lane and larger homes. And what Mr. Jones is proposing is that we would make the entrance at Douglas, or the connection at Douglas, an entrance only. So no egress there, only ingress. for emergency vehicles predominantly. And I get, anybody could come in there if they wanted to, but to limit it to ingress only and not egress. And he would keep his construction traffic off Douglas Lane. Now, if we develop this in the county, it may be more advantageous to start at Douglas and work back toward Twin Eagles. And that's just being open and honest with you guys here tonight.
If they may change it, if or not, there have been improvements.
And then, of course, the council may change if there's not any improvements made to Douglas Lane, because we feel like there's a potential for improvements to be made to Douglas Lane in the next 10 years. Especially with the way that we're growing right now.
There's one lady out there on the comments that she said that it would be a temporary, I guess what her term was, solution to a problem by hooking entrance only to Douglas Lane. And I feel the same way that she feels about that it would be a temporary fix that would be years down the road. But also, I also view this, what Mr. McCord said, that more than likely there's going to be more development in that area right there, and there could be another entrance or exit location somewhere in the near future. That's one thing I'm pointing out. I want people in Twin Eagles to be safe, and I want the people on Douglas Lane to be also satisfied. My opinion right now, my opinion has changed from this week than the other week because Randy did not have this idea or his solution last week. But after reading what Randy is actually proposing or wanting to do, I feel that for the people on Douglas Lane, I feel that it would be less traffic for them, entrance only, down the road than I would be opening it up right now if he was to start building on that acreage off of Douglas Lane. That's my opinion.
This is Buck here. If you don't mind, I'd like to comment on that ingress only there off Douglas Lane. I mean, you're still, yes, the trip generation may not be as great, which would be coming out to Douglas Lane from the Twin Eagle development, but trying to police that, to me, I don't know how I don't understand. I don't visualize how you could police that to where, to where people will obey that particular traffic movement.
One-way street.
Yeah. I mean, I think it'd be hard to police it too. I think it'd be hard to do.
Can you go one way?
Can I say something?
Yes, go ahead.
I spoke with Judy Harden today. She says that road will not be widened. She said that when it's repaved, that will not add in enough to make any difference because there's no shoulder on most of it. She said at the widest places, it's probably 18 feet, not an average of 18 feet. I feel like we've already had this denied by the planning commission. Why do we have it if we're not going to listen to them? I don't really understand why Mr. Jones feels that he needs to keep on adding homes when obviously the problem is we have too many in there without another exit. We've already heard that it's going to cause safety concerns for the number of cars. It's going to be a problem for emergency vehicles to get in and through there. That even if it could be widened, you still have those huge curves. And I just still feel like it's not safe. I don't know what to do about it. Really, it's a tough thing to come up with something, but I just really think that we ought to just follow the direction of the planning commission and let the county deal with this.
I'd like to say something here too, Craig, please.
Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Fan.
With the representative, Councilman Overton not being here tonight, I'm not sure I can even do this a second time. I'd like to defer this until he can be here to represent his district. It's his job to represent the people he does represent, and he wasn't able to be here tonight. So I just feel like the correct thing to do. I don't feel comfortable voting until I hear from him and what he's heard from those people.
Didn't we defer this the last time it came up?
I'm the one that deferred it.
Let me say something there too. Bill McCord, I'm going to put you back up here one more second. The only way that I would be for this, if it would work, if it would be entrance only. And what you guys are saying, it might not work and it wouldn't be feasible. And I understand that. And I told Mr. Bill, when we brought this up in planning, this option wasn't on the table in planning. Am I correct in saying that?
I believe you're correct. I don't believe that option was discussed at the planning commission meeting.
So that's when that other option was out there, I didn't support it at all. And that's why I'm saying this time it's a little bit different scenario. And I would support an entrance only if it could work, but that's the only way that I would support this. And Councilman Fan, I'm fine if you want to defer it also.
I feel like that's what we need to do, so I'll make the motion, we defer it.
All right, we have a motion that's on the floor to defer by Councilman Fan. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay,
Sorry, Steve.
and when are we going to defer this till?
It'd have to be next work session, wouldn't it?
Right, next work session.
Could I jump out there, Mayor? Can I ask you something?
Say me?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Can you kind of give us an idea, maybe what your opinion would be on this?
I mean, y'all are going over the issues. I think you've kind of covered the different perspectives on it. It's a difficult situation because you're looking at something that could wind up with a worse outcome if it goes with the county and that access that would be forced from Douglas Lane versus something that we could actually control. Then you also have, whoops, I just made my thing go away. You also have, difference in road standards, so that if you were to build from Douglas Lane into Twin Eagles, you could have different road standards. And I don't think that if it were built on the county side, that's just I think that the county would allow you to do just an entrance only. Well, they couldn't, because that'd be the only access in theory. So.
Yeah. And I kind of agree with Buck. I think an entrance only would be hard to regulate that and hard to control that. I don't see how you would do that. I really don't.
Chuck has got something to say, hasn't he?
I'll have to look in the fire code, but I don't believe entrance only would work because he's exceeded the number of homes. He'd have to have egress for circulation going and coming, but I'd have to let me look it up. I don't have a book with me tonight, but I'll have to look it up. But there's a number of homes allowed in a subdivision before you have to have two egress points. Entrance is not an egress. Okay, so let me look that up and I'll get back to you.
Is it our responsibility to come up with a second entrance and exit, or is it the developer?
It's a developer. Yeah, it's a developer.
Well, why did he not come up with this before we got to over 500 houses? I don't know who to ask about that, but
I think we're kind of beating the dead horse. I think in all fairness, I do feel more comfortable if Mr. Overton would be here, and I would kind of like to go along with the defer. I got some questions and things I want to try to get answered myself by the next work session.
Okay. All right, so let's have a roll call then, please.
This is to defer.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Camp,
Aye.
Councilman Alexander,
Yes.
Councilman Fan,
Yes.
Councilman Fennell,
Yes.
Councilman Hayes,
Yes.
Councilwoman Love,
No.
and Mr. Overton is absent. So we have 5 yeses, 1 no.
Okay, that's for 11, 12, 13. All right,
Correct.
thank you. All right, moving on. Item number 1. Let's see, Rachel Nichols.
We have an ordinance to appropriate a federal grant that the police department has received in the amount of $92,017. It's 100% fully funded by the Federal Department of Justice, and it is a staffing study.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second.
You have a motion, second, any discussion? Any discussion? If not, we'll have a roll call.
Vice Mayor Camp,
Aye.
Councilman Alexander,
Yes.
Councilman Fan,
Yes.
Councilman Fennell,
Yes.
Councilman Hayes,
Yes.
Councilwoman Love,
Yes.
Councilman Overton is absent. So the motion carries with 6 ayes and 0 noes.
Thank you. All right, on to item number 2. Let's see, Rachel Nichols, you're up again.
This is our annual ordinance to appropriate all the carryover projects that were started in 2020, but that were incomplete at the end of the budget year. This is the balance on each one of those items. It's a very lengthy list. I'll be glad to go over it, or if you have any questions. But these are monies that were originally budgeted in 2020, but the timing of the project, they just weren't complete before the end of the fiscal year.
So the finance will stay the same in each project.
Yes, sir. We're not adding any money to any project in total.
Motion to approve.
Got a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Love. Any discussion? If not, roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Camp,
Aye.
Councilman Alexander,
Yes.
Councilman Fan,
Yes.
Councilman Fennell,
Yes.
Councilman Hayes,
Yes.
Councilwoman Love.
Yes.
Motion carries with 6 ayes.
Thank you. All right, on to item number 3, Rachel Nichols, again.
This is appropriating another grant that we've received. It's $19,600 is the total project. Of that amount, we're receiving $14,000 from the State of Tennessee Historical Commission. $5,600 would come out of the general fund, unassigned fund balance. And before you vote on this, I just need to mention there is a typo in the account number. The account number that's listed for the revenue, we will change before you get that on first reading, if it's approved.
Motion to send it on.
Have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion on this? All right, roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Camp,
Aye.
Councilman Alexander,
Yes.
Councilman Fennell,
Yes.
Councilman Fan,
Yes.
Councilman Hayes,
Yes.
Councilwoman Love.
Yes.
6 ayes and 0 nays.
Thank you. Item number 4, let's see, Zach Wilkinson.
Yes, this is insurance recovery money for a dump truck that was damaged. Just appropriation of the insurance money.
Okay, do we have a motion?
Motion approved.
Have a motion by Councilman Camp, is there a second?
Second.
Second by a few people. Any discussion? If not, roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Camp,
Aye.
Councilman Alexander,
Yes.
Councilman Fan,
Yes.
Councilman Fennell,
Yes.
Councilman Hayes,
Yes.
Councilwoman Love.
Yes.
Motion 6 ayes, 0 nays.
Thank you. Item number 5, Zach.
Yes, got the 2019-2020 2020 Environmental Services Annual Report. Jeff, I'm going to try to share my screen. Put it up there. This should be in y'all's packet as well. Can y'all see that?
Dude.
Yes.
Okay, good deal. I'll try to run through it real quick. Just want to go over kind of some of the key metrics for the Environmental Services Department this last fiscal year. Last year, the department picked up and landfilled 14,282 tons of garbage. That was a 6.1% increase from the previous year. We ended the year with over 13,000 customers, which was a 4.5% increase from the previous year. And we're currently, or at the end of the year, we're servicing 15,375 cans, which was a 6.5% increase as well. So to give you an idea, that's about close to 4,000 cans per day that we're servicing every week. So when you do all those numbers, the average customer in Gallatin generates about 2,185 pounds of trash, which was actually an increase this year. That number had been trending down, which is a good thing, but our recycling numbers increased. I tend to think the reason that number increased was due to probably some of the COVID, a lot of people being at home, and a lot of the trash that was going into the commercial stream ended up in the residential where we were dealing with it. So hopefully that number will go down next year. As far as brush, we picked up 3,343 tons of brush and leaves, which was a 35% increase from the previous year. And actually that number's not totally accurate. It was actually close to probably about a 75% increase, just due to there's a lag in billing. So our brush pickup last year, it went up hugely. We were able to be a lot more efficient about it and get it done do a lot more of it and get it done a lot quicker due to being able to utilize the drop-off facility there at Steam Plant Road, rather than running through the Resource Authority, running through the scales. That saved us a lot of time, helped us become a lot more efficient at it. That being said, I know we still get lots of calls, especially during certain times of the year after storms and during kind of the peak seasons for brush pickup, where a lot of people are unhappy on the amount of time it takes to pick up brush. So that's something I'll address kind of at the end of this, and about some ideas that we can maybe do to address that. As far as the financials end of the Environmental Service Department, our goal is for everything in the Environmental Service Department to be funded based on that user fee, which is $12 per can that we service per month. That also includes free brush pickup for those customers, and also bulk pickup on Fridays. So just giving you an idea, brush pickup accounts for about 1/3 of our operating cost. And this last year we operated within those revenues. Last year we had close to $360,000 in net revenue. That does not include an automated garbage truck that we purchased for $219,000, and then also we finished up the capture gap remediation, or at least our contribution to that. There are still some recurring costs associated with that, but the big chunk of it was paid off last year. Regarding recycling, we recycled 619 tons of material last year. And then when you add that with the amount of brush that was diverted from the landfill, it was a total of close to 4,000 tons of materials that were diverted from the landfills due to our recycling program, and then also our brush pickup program. I'll let y'all, if you want to look through the different commodities, kind of the different numbers, all of them have gone up. There is overall a 22% increase in recycling numbers, which is good. It's a challenge for us to keep the facility up because all that's coming into our facility here at Public Works, but it's good in the long-term picture that people are utilizing it and recycling more. And that doesn't include the textiles. We didn't have those numbers in yet, so that would actually the number would actually be a little bit higher. But with all that being said, kind of some of the milestones and challenges and then initiatives for next year. Like I said, we got the catch gap remediation project done. There's still some monitoring costs and that kind of thing in the amount of probably $10,000 to $15,000 a year that we're city's still on the hook for due to our kind of our part of the resource authority. But the major remediation of that landfill has been completed. Recycling program growing with growth has been challenges on keeping staff. We've been trying to utilize temporary staff, but also we're doing so much hauling of the commodities right now that it's taking a lot of our streets drivers' times along with sanitation drivers' times. So that's something the next year we're gonna have to kind of come up with a better solution on how to address recycling, and it kind of comes down to it's a financial cost to keep the program running at the rate that it is. And in the future, I'll be kind of coming to y'all with some options on how we can fund that, whether it's through the general fund, whether we take it out of the environmental services fund, if we split it, which is essentially what we're doing now. But I'll come to you with some ideas on how we can do that. Just wanted to mention we had challenges of staffing during some of the COVID outbreaks, but unlike some of the surrounding municipalities, I know we never did go a day where all the garbage was not picked up. I know some others actually got way behind. So that's something we're really proud of. We're able to keep service continued through everything, and hopefully that'll continue. Hopefully we won't have any more big outbreaks like we had, but we were able to provide a lot of support to Lebanon and Wilson County during the tornadoes. We had brush trucks there 2 to 3 weeks with 2 or 3 different drivers and lots of dump truck drivers helping haul. And they were very appreciative of that. And that's something I'm really proud of our guys being able to help, and something that glad us as a city were able to help them in their time of need. Then also, I guess one of the challenges we've had this year is also that wait times at the Resource Authority are getting longer and longer. But I know they've got plans to address that, but that has been a challenge. We have had to use some overtime funds to where our guys are waiting in line so long. But that is a challenge that we've had this last year, and it'll continue to be a challenge until they get those issues addressed. And then the last is brush pickup. I know that's a call that a lot of y'all receive pretty often, especially during spring and summer after a storm. I'm going to come to you here in probably a month or two with a couple different options. It really comes down to a funding option for us to keep the existing level of service as far as brush pickup. We're going to have to look at either increasing personnel, and which ultimately comes a cost issue. The existing $12 per can per month, it takes care of garbage, and I feel like we can run a sustainable program and keep up with garbage collection, but we're getting behind on brush. We've been fortunate to be able to increase our efficiency utilizing that steam plant road site, but we've had so much population gain and greater demand for that service that we're gonna have to look at doing something to either fund it or acknowledge that, hey, the level of service for brush pickup is gonna go down somewhat. So I'll be bringing some numbers to y'all on some different options on how to do that and ideas on how we might approach that. But other than that, if there's any questions, I'll do my best to answer them. And
any questions for Zach?
No, I just want to thank Zach for the job that your staff do. Appreciate it, and thanks for helping out other cities to.
Good job, Zach.
Thank y'all.
Good work.
You're doing a
You guys
great
do
job.
a really good job.
Appreciate it. All right, on to item number 6, Nick Tuttle.
I want to say that I really do thank the department, and I appreciate you all saying something, because that department has just really been stellar in dealing with community growth, a huge increase in workload.
Yeah.
But I think the thing that's really most impressive with that department is the customer service that they deliver to our citizens. I get so many compliments from, people on the streets. They've had some interaction with some of the staff from Public Works, and it's really noticed. And so I appreciate that they do that with such a good attitude, especially in these challenging times when they have been short-staffed and overworked. And I'll also add the flower baskets look beautiful this year. So good job on that.
They
So
do.
thank you.
They
Thank
look-
y'all. Pass it on.
Thanks. Okay, item number 6, Nick Tuttle.
Good evening, council members and mayor. Again, Buck Rogers here, sitting in for Nick tonight, assistant city engineer. Item 6 is a 2020-21 pavement rehabilitation recommendation. We gave this, I think, sent this out to you guys a few weeks ago, just so you had some time to look at it, maybe ride the streets and offer any suggestions. I did hear from a few members of council about their district and maybe some roads to kind of keep in mind if we have some carryover, and then also in the upcoming future recommendations. So tonight, our engineering division is just asking you for approval to carry on with the list as provided and begin work on those particular streets. The money is in the budget and was approved.
Do I hear a motion?
Motion to continue.
Have a motion to second?
Second with a question.
Okay, we got a second and there's a question.
Hey, Buck, correct me if I'm wrong, but I've done some research on this from 2014, 2015 year. It looks like $5,500,000 is projected to have been spent. Also, it looks like 20 to 21, we got another $2.5 million to be spent. I mean, that's a total of $8 million spent in 6 years on our roads. Is that a correct figure?
Yes, that number does sound correct, Councilman Fennell, with those numbers being associated with our paving rehabilitation program and also a few of our capital projects. That number does sound sufficient.
And, from what I've heard and been told over the years, if there's any roads that, pop up and it's got some problems and stuff that's not on it, it seems like we'll all get together and solve a solution, find the money somewhere to press on. I just want to say I appreciate it. I know one of the articles I read in the paper that when Facebook was considering this area, they considered it because they felt that the infrastructure was in good shape in our city. So my hat's off to all the department heads out there. I think we got some good people working in the city. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any other discussion? If not, roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Camp, Councilman Alexander,
Yes.
Councilman Fan,
Yes.
Councilman Fennell,
Yes.
Councilman Hayes,
Yes.
Councilwoman Love.
Yes.
6 ayes, 0 nays.
Okay, thank you. Item number 7, David Brown.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, this is an ordinance appropriating $18,538.87 from the Miracle Park Donation Revenue Fund to the Miracle Park Expense Fund.
Do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve.
I have a motion and a second by Fan. Any discussion? If not, roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Camp, Councilman Alexander,
Yes.
Councilman Fan,
Yes.
Councilman Fennell,
Yes.
Councilman Hayes,
Yes.
Councilwoman Love.
Yes.
6 ayes, 0 nays.
Thank you. On to item number 8, Mr. McCord.
Yes, I'm going to share my screen again. This next item is a report on the annexation study that was done for Bledsoe Springs annexation, which is moving through council now. I believe it's gone through the first reading and will be public hearing at our next meeting. The property is, if you remember, is off of Hartsville Pike, east of Airport Road, adjacent to the industrial center. It's a substantial portion of the property is adjacent to the abandoned railroad right of way. And the property owner when it was abandoned will receive half of the width of the right of way, which will be included in the property. The Planning Commission, again, has made a recommendation on it. But basically, the results of the study are not unlike any other projects similar to this, is that with the 183 units that would be developed in here, it's essentially a break-even proposition. Most residential development really doesn't pay its way in the long run. The developer will be building all the infrastructure at their cost, and it's only in the later years is when the maintenance burdens accumulate. So that we're talking 20, maybe close to 20 years, 15 to 20 years when the streets will have to be repaved once they're accepted. So it'll be some time before they're accepted, probably 5 years, but it's generally a break-even proposition depending on the tax rates. And that was assuming revenues from a variety of sources, taxes and utilities. That would be the area subject to annexation there in the checkered pattern. And that's the master plan that was approved by the, recommended for approval by the Planning Commission, and y'all have seen that as well. Any questions?
Any questions? I don't think we have to vote on this, do we?
No, it's just a presentation that we do for y'all.
Okay. Any questions?
Yeah, Craig, can you hear me? Craig Hayes,
Yes.
can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I lost my screen. You guys lose your screen?
Yeah.
No,
No?
Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay. Any questions? If not, on to item number 9, Mr. McCord.
Let me say one thing for Sean's benefit. If you see a blue camera down at the bottom of your screen, down in the icons, if you click on that, they'll probably bring your screen back up.
Trying page.
You see a blue camera?
Oh, I got it. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, council, this next item is a request to apply for a transportation alternatives grant with TDOT. This is very similar to the grant that y'all authorized us to approve to move forward with back in July for a section of and what we're recommending is a section of the Vol State Gap Trail. I put this map together and which shows the Vol State Gap Trail that y'all approved us applying for grant, shown in the green line in front of and this is an aerial photo, by the way, of the western part of town, adjacent to the Vol State campus. So y'all have authorized us to apply for the grant to build this section of it here, and that deals only with one property owner. Similarly, what we were wanting to request that y'all consider approving is allow us to apply for a grant that will allow us to build this next section, which is shown in red, which meanders through a creek that extends through Kennesaw Farms. And the reason we're asking for that is that we would be dealing with one property owner who expressed interest in cooperating with the city to provide easements to accommodate that. And also the state will be replacing the bridge over Station Camp Creek, and that will be a real fun project, I'm sure. But they have recently talked to us about, because we had requested them to reconstruct the bridge to accommodate a trail, is that some of the questions they've had were, they were concerned about designing a bridge in that manner to make it easy to provide for a trail if we didn't have any obligation to build one in that area. So this essentially this alignment would connect Nat Caldwell Park there at Douglas Bend Road up through along the side of Highway 31 and then meander up that creek up through Kennesaw. Now, I don't know how much it would cost to build a portion of this segment or the higher priority segment. I do want to point out that the area shown in yellow is already constructed by other developers. So it would connect to an existing trailhead or trail ending point. And then we have the areas in orange lines, which would be future extensions that we will have to pursue at a later time. But I just want to get, if this is the will of the council to pursue this grant for this other phase, that you authorize us to do so.
Hey,
Mr. Court, what percent of matching that the city would be liable for?
Well, that's right. This would be an 80-20 match grant, but it only covers the construction cost. So this is not as lucrative to us as the previous grant that we applied for, just covering the construction costs. That means the city would be responsible for any cost for right of way, which we're hoping to avoid by having donations, and of course, design cost and environmental costs that the city would be responsible for.
So the 80-20 is just for the construction?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Is the property owner willing to financially participate?
They have indicated a willingness to cooperate with us in providing easements. Some of the easements we've received as part of master development plan amendments. And most of the property north of behind the commercial area has not been included in the easements. It's the properties to the south adjacent to the commercial area down to the highway where we've gotten in the zoning document requirement for an easement.
Bill, that is, I know it's Paige's goal, and I know it's one of my main goals out there is in the future, I would love to see that park put back to what the glory used to be back in the day when I was a kid. And I think most of the veterans that's been around this town lived here for a while. Remember the day that the ski course was over there, the ramps was over there, and where it is in orange right there, people used to sit on the embankment, watch the festivals over there. And I drive my jet ski under there a lot. I take my boat over there, and I envision what I would like that area to look like. That is one of the gateways to Gallatin. I think there's a lot of potential out there for that area, and I'm proud to see something moving on this area.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? Do I hear a motion?
Motion to send on.
There's a second? And a second by Councilwoman Love. All right. Roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Kemp. Councilman Alexander.
Yes.
Councilman Fan.
Yes.
Councilman Fennell.
Yes.
Councilman Hayes.
Yes.
And Councilwoman Love.
Yes.
6 ayes, 0 nays.
Thank you. All right, that brings us to the last item, I believe, number 14, and that is Connie Flood.
Yes, item 14, awarding health, vision, and dental insurance. We reviewed 25 different alternative quotes, and with the employee's best interests in mind, we stayed with Blue Cross of Tennessee. The proposed benefit plans are the same for the employees and their dependents. The employees will stay with a base plan with 2 other options. The original renewal for Blue Cross was 12.38%. It was negotiated to 8.79%. We felt this percentage was too high due to no COLA and COVID. And we're proposing a 5.35% overall for the 3 plans for the employees. We're going to shift the remaining increase to the city. We plan to increase the HRA from 1,000 to 2,000, and the HRA is funded by the premium savings of a higher deductible and a higher out-of-pocket. How does that impact the employees? 2 options have a slight increase, and the 3rd option is decreased. How does it impact the city? The annual change in cost to the city is approximately 7%, depending on the claims. And I do have the brokers here tonight, as well as myself, for any additional questions.
All right. Do I hear a motion?
I move.
Have a motion, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, what about discussion? Anybody have any discussion?
Did you mention who the brokers was?
Yes.
It's Michael Wartenberger and Kelly Coley, like it has been in years past. I do want to say that, we've had a couple of good years where we haven't had very sizable increases. And Connie didn't mention there's no dental increase, so that's a good thing for us. And remember, the city is still covering dental for our employees. We're winding up with that, really close percentage wise, but we're impacting our employees as little as we possibly can. So we're staying within our budget projections. Obviously, it's
correct.
much higher than I wish it were, but we're there.
So are you saying that the employees will have an increase in the insurance payment?
Yes, because there's an increase in premiums. And so when an employee takes one of the premium plans, or they have a spouse, children, or family, they are going to have an increase.
That's correct.
All right, any other discussion? If not, roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Camp. Councilman Alexander.
Yes.
Councilman Fan.
Yes.
Councilman Fennell.
Yes.
Councilman Hayes.
Yes.
Councilwoman Love.
Yes.
Voted 6 ayes, 0 nays.
Thank you. That brings us to other business. Does anybody on the council have any other business?
I just have one from Mr. McCoy. Mr. McCoy, are you still here?
Yes, sir.
You remember some years ago, we done a community grant for community development. Do you foresee us doing that anytime again in the future? Or have we considered that?
Yeah, that'd be the housing grant.
Yeah, development grant.
Yeah, we participated in that. We decided not to do that this year because we're doing the comp plan. Once the comp plan is adopted, we will most likely move into land development code amendments, including the zoning code rewrite. And it's quite possible that we'll be able to apply for a home grant if that's the will of the council.
That's something I would like for you to look into.
Okay.
All right. Anybody else?
One thing for Susie. Susie, Ms. McCauley, I've had several people asking me about putting some signs out. Can you tell me when our ordinance, when I can start putting my signs out?
I don't have that right in front of me, but I can look at that and get back with you.
Thank you very much.
Mr. McCord may know, is it 30 days before early voting? Is that correct?
I believe it's 60 days based on the statute. I did look at the statute today and it says 60 days before general election.
Yeah, 60 days before the general election.
Yeah, and that's November 3rd is the general. So I guess September 3rd probably.
Yep.
But don't put them in the right of way.
Got it.
That'd be all
Anybody
right.
else?
What about those signs that are out already?
They've been picking them up.
Okay.
I just wanted to ask Buck if there's anything being done out there at Long Hollow and what was that street? Let's see, Harris Lane. Mr. Marquesi's been asking over and over and over. Is there anything happening?
Currently, no. We did bring that before council with a few options, and that's been a few months back. The area was studied. We did hire a professional engineer, traffic engineer, made recommendations to that intersection. We did make those improvements, but to date, that's all we've done at this point.
Can you and Nick look into it again, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay. Does anybody else have anything else? What about department heads? Any department heads? Any department heads? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. All those in favor? All right. We're out of here.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Thanks.
Oh, Lord. This is just way too long.
Linda, do you still hear me?
Yeah.
Was it hard hearing me tonight?
You were going in and out a little bit, just at that one point.
And you know, sometimes it is hard
Send
for
me
me
your
to
lowest.
understand or hear some of the people,
In my rocking
you
chair.
know,